And there he is, up there, right behind you, Sue. Be careful he doesn't do an overhead kick on you. Let's start, shall we, with that goal. OK, for you two, is that up there with one of the greatest Premier League goals of all time?
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. To take that on in any game, I've heard a lot of arguments already about, well, the Rooney one was in the Manchester derby. I look at that one and just think the angle it's on, the position on the pitch where he takes it on, I think it's further out and wider. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal technique and great confidence. But he is that type of player who's very sort of confident in his own ability. I'd have ran straight off down the tunnel. I'd sub myself straight away if I'm scoring one of them. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, OK, I'm going to play devil. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just playing devil's advocate. 3 minutes in, if he put it out for a throw-in, he would have just gone, well, I was just getting my first touch of the ball. There was no pressure on him, the point that Stephen was making.
Well, I don't know.
Do we take that into account? Because Rooney's 10 minutes to go, it was 1-1, it was a Manchester derby, there was a lot at stake. So which one, for you, Sue, was better?
I'm still going Garnacho. I know what you mean, the environment, what was at stake, 10 minutes to go and things like that with Wayne Rooney. And that is absolutely outstanding as well. But I quite like the build-up as well of the Garnacho one, the ball that was, it was played out wide, Dallo, it was a good delivery in. But it's the way that he sort of adjusts himself, the distance from goal and his connection. It was just... And that moment in the game just completely changed the game because the atmosphere around Goodison was electric, it was hostile, it was exactly what Manchester United needed to quieten the crowd. So it was, absolute phenomenal.
We're splitting hairs, aren't we?
OK. I think it's fair to say that this season United forwards have struggled for goals. This is like London buses, though, isn't it? We wait all this time, in fact, since September, and then 3 turn up in one game. Right. That goal for Marcus Rashford, what can that do for him?
Well, they'll be hoping that will give him a boost. And I know a lot has been made of it. Bruno Fernandes giving the penalty to him. He spoke afterwards and said he's hoping that that's going to give him the confidence then for the rest of the season. Because we all know what Marcus Rashford can do. We saw the form that he was in last season. And that's what they'll want, because that's what we've said about Manchester United. We've said, look, the forward line, they are struggling to score goals. And, that could be, it's not just them, it's the pattern of play behind them, it's what's happening in the midfield, it's Luke Shaw not playing. I think he's made a big difference coming back in, that sort of leadership and that quality building from the back. So there's been lots of factors probably why they haven't been scoring, but then we've also seen a lot of missed chances, haven't we? And we've seen moments of brilliance, but it's doing it on a consistent basis. So it's a real positive that all 3 scored.
Good captaincy?
Yeah. It is, actually. He's come under a lot of criticism lately, but do you not think it was interesting when he was speaking to Juliet Ferrington after the game? And he said, I gave it to Marcus Rashford for confidence. Then Juliet went on to say, is that what he's been missing at the moment, confidence? And he quickly backtracked and says, no, it's not that he's lost confidence. And you think, he has, but you don't want to publicly admit it. Even you're seeing it as a player, as a teammate. To do the right thing is to give him that confidence. How do you give him confidence? By scoring a goal, whether it's a penalty or whatever it might be. So even as a player, understanding what is needed for the team around him, like you say, it is good captaincy.
Yeah. And Martial as well was an interesting one. Yeah, very cool finish.
Yeah, lovely finish.
So why don't we see that more regularly?
He is one of the most frustrating players. If I had the ounce of his quality, you've got to have dedication, you've got to have work rate, you've got to have sacrifice, belief in it. He's a waste of talent. He really is, because he is, on his day, he's unplayable. You would struggle to know whether he's going inside you, outside you. He's got pace, he's got skill, he's got great balance. He's a good finisher, but half the time he looks disinterested. And I think, how can you be disinterested with your talent? He's one of those players, and I hope he does at the end of his career, looks back and thinks, I should have done more. Not that I've give everything and done everything. He's just one of those players where I think you've wasted a lot of what you've got. And it's a shame, a real shame, because I'd love to have an ounce of it, like I said, of his ability. He is a phenomenal talent, but he's always that player where every single season people will go, and I remember last season when Erik ten Hag came in, they were like, oh, he's going to get the best out of Martial. No one's been able to get the best out of Martial because for me, when I watch him, it's up there, it's in his head.
The greatest compliment I can give him, he looked like a City player. That was Gary Neville talking about Kobbie Mainoo, talking about having talent in abundance. This young man looks like he has, hasn't he?
Oh, 18 years old, to come into, I mentioned the atmosphere, to come in and be so calm and composed and just always wanting the ball, wanting to play forward. The way that he read danger as well. He sensed when things weren't quite right for Manchester United. He's quite happy to put his foot in. I thought this was brilliant from him, to see what was happening and to get himself back on the line and clear the ball. But yeah, I thought he was excellent. I thought he's got that mobility as well to play in that position. You just think if he hadn't have got injured in pre-season, I'm sure we'd have seen a lot more from him already. But yeah, he certainly impressed me. Obviously, it's his first Premier League start, wasn't it? So you don't want to sort of put too much pressure on the young man, but certainly to come into that environment and to perform the way he did, huge credit. And he's got a real bright future.
Yeah. The interesting thing, when he cleared that ball off the line, he didn't even take a second to congratulate himself, did he? He was straight up looking for the danger again. That point that Sue made, though, he's only 18. How careful do we have to be? I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson was always the best at this, wasn't he, of bringing that young talent in, but not letting them get too exposed too early.
I think one of the case in points is look over the park to Manchester City and Phil Foden, and you go how Pep Guardiola handled him, and we kept on saying all the time, didn't we? It's like, surely he has to play and you've got to give him opportunity, but you've got to be able to keep the feet on the floor as well. You've got to take that level of expectation off them. I mean, everyone's going to highlight him this week, aren't they? Everyone's going to be talking about him. Everyone's going to be excited to see how he fares next week. Hopefully we just give him the opportunity to breathe and enjoy himself and realise that what a great performance it was, but that's not the end of it. It has to keep on going, has to keep on growing. But the way that grows is his teammates in and around him as well, helping him, having the right environment, having the right professionalism in and around him and watching them play day in, day out. The big thing is that there's no question his talent. Now it's the application, it's the dedication behind the scenes, the diet, the not going out, the understanding how to live the lifestyle that's correct for how far you want to go and how far you believe you can go. But just don't put too much pressure on him.
Is it fair to say that United really haven't had quite the right balance in midfield for a while, and does he then provide that for them? He's
certainly an option in there. That has been something I think that you can see that's what Manchester United are trying to do, get that right balance. Obviously it's not helped with the back four changing all the time because of injuries, but I think the midfield is obviously key, isn't it? And you just think by him going in there and just sitting in that holding midfield role, but he was quite happy to get forward as well and link up with play going forward. He just seemed like just a player beyond his years already, which I think is a huge sort of boost for him.
Yeah, I think the other thing, Rob, as well, you have to be careful with youngsters is that are they fully matured into the body? So you worry about injuries. I look at Bajcetic at Liverpool.
Yeah.
You have a prolonged run in the team and it just becomes that little bit too much for you. So there's the part of where you're saying about Sir Alex Ferguson is drip feeding them into the team slowly, because you have to let them mature naturally. You can't just suddenly go, well, if he's good enough, he's old enough. It's not the case now because of the speed of the game as well.
Yeah. I hear it said quite often, and on this programme, that the sign of a good team and a team who's going to push for the title is when they're not playing well, but they're still picking up wins. Mm-hmm. I don't hear that being said about Manchester United, but they're 6 points off the top. They're on this 5 wins in 6. So if they're not playing well yet still winning, why aren't people including that in their conversation with United?
Put them up against the better teams and they struggle. There's a gulf in class between I'd say the top 6 or so. I know Manchester United are in that, but when I look at teams like Manchester City, absolutely dominated them. Then you look at Newcastle, depleted Newcastle, went to Old Trafford and hammered them. Could have been more. I don't think necessarily when you look at the teams, when I look at Copenhagen, I know there was a sending off, but even Galatasaray struggled in those games in the Champions League. I just don't think they're at that level to compete in the Premier League yet. I think they're a good team. They're not the level that they should be. They haven't progressed as much as we thought they would from last year. But listen, it's very early in the season. They could go on another incredible run. They might just do that. It might click into gear. I think, again, it comes down to the identity of the team. What are they? What's the structure of the team? And I think that's still missing. Or is that also his greatest asset, that we don't know what it is?
Oh, gosh, you've left us hanging there. In a word, yes or no, do they make the top 4?
Oh.
I'll go no.
Can you come back to me on that one? I'm going to say, at this moment in time, no.
If Sue had her way, all 20 teams would make the top 4. OK.